Alright, what is going on, guys? Back with another video. This time we're going to switch it up a little bit and do Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. So, a lot of people have an opinion on this fight. Seemingly everybody has an opinion on this fight. A lot of people who are big into combat sports. I really like combat sports. They're like my favorite sports are combat sports. So, just about everybody I've been talking to seems like they at least want to see the outcome of this fight. A lot of people seem to also feel the need to say like, I hate to admit that I'm watching it. Like I don't see why people feel the need to do that. I mean, this is going to be a fun fight. And people can say what they want about Jake Paul. He's done a good job of selling these fights. Like all these YouTube fights he's been a part of, him and his brother, they've been generating a lot of hype. That's why this is happening. And, there's a lot that goes into selling a fight. Sometimes you love the guy, sometimes you hate him. But the thing about Jake Paul is it's one of those unique situations where I think a lot of people and a lot of younger people, a lot of kids, because, Jake Paul with his YouTube and all that, he mostly has a younger audience. Getting into combat sports maybe for the first time. Maybe these Jake Paul fights are the first time they've really watched a boxing match. And I think that has to be appreciated. And, it's interesting. And so I guess we'll just start with Jake Paul here. There's not much to go on if you want to go on actually watching fight tape. For both guys, it's gonna be a lot of like we're looking at like pad work and stuff, especially for Jake, because Jake has only had 2 professional fights, and they weren't against like seasoned professional fighters by any stretch. Last time, of course, he knocked out Nate Robinson. That was pretty funny. And I think with that one, like, here's the thing with Jake Paul. He's definitely like an influencer and all that, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook him just a little bit. Like, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Jake Paul obviously hypes himself up like he is this elite fighter, and he's on this elite fighter path, and he calls out big names like Conor McGregor. Like, obviously I think that's pretty silly, but at the same time, Jake Paul has pretty much shown that he's not going to be just a pushover. It's not just like going to be you're getting in there with some Instagram influencer, you're just going to beat his ass. Like, he's actually worked at this. He has some pretty good boxing technique. He's got a big frame, a good frame for boxing. And, he's had the money to pay for a lot of high-profile sparring partners. Look at his trainer. His head trainer has been BJ Flores. So, Flores, former professional boxer, said some ridiculous things, like he thinks that Jake Paul will be able to knock out Conor McGregor. But at the same time, you can take it with a grain of salt if you want. That's what a lot of this is, guys. By the way, I would not recommend betting like a ton of money on this or anything. This fight is mostly just for fun. There's a lot of intrigue for it. But anyway, Flores and a lot of the other professional boxers and MMA fighters that Paul has sparred with have said that he seems like he's motivated. Here's that ridiculous quote about knocking out Conor McGregor. But, people say that Jake Paul actually seems motivated for this. And, again, I think it's just going back to, I definitely don't think that Jake Paul is just like some influencer here to collect a check. I think that he actually wants to win these fights. I think he's actually looking to prove something. And he keeps generating interest. He keeps, if he wins here, he'll set himself up for another big pay-per-view. And it's just really interesting. It's one of those things where you just don't know where it's going to go. It's pretty much uncharted territory. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Jake. It's all speculation, really. We're looking at his training partner here. He's been training with Jake Bostwick, MMA fighter. He's been sparring with him. So, just shows that Jake is in there with guys who can maybe help him get prepared for Ben's game plan here, which we'll get to in a second. And, again, man, it's just like there's not much to go on. It's not like I break down fights every week. Usually you're watching like 12 hours of tape on any one fight, and you get a pretty good idea of, like, at least you get like a good roadmap of what can happen. But with this one, it's just a lot of speculation. But for Jake, he's gonna have the reach advantage here. I think it's about 4 inches. Yeah, I can see 4 inches. He's got about 3 inches of height, and he's also much younger. Ben has been around for a long time. Just had hip replacement surgery. He hasn't been active because he's been retired from MMA. And yeah, Jake is younger, and obviously he doesn't have nearly the experience Askren has. Askren's an Olympian. He's a true prize fighter. But, I mean, past a certain point, age does catch up with you, and especially this is not his wheelhouse. So it is interesting. But then we go to Ben Askren. So for Ben Askren, if you're not an MMA fan, he is pretty much all grappling, all wrestling, and he got to the UFC late, but that was just, there's different reasons for that. He was very, very good at MMA at a certain point. He was very good welterweight. And the thing is like I said, it's all grappling, man. And that is why I think they made this fight, because, the industry wants to make some money here. Everybody's making money. So I think that they wanted to try to kind of set up Jake Paul with a guy they think he can beat, because you had the whole Dylan Dennis beef going on, and I thought that would have made more sense, right? Like, Jake Paul was like throwing water balloons at him. Dylan Dennis, obviously affiliated with Conor McGregor, so he's just trying to set up this, like, where he gets demolished by Conor McGregor. He's trying to set that up, and he probably will get it eventually. But anyway, I think that if they wanted to do that, they wouldn't yet, at least, because I think they think that Jake could lose. So promoters kind of want to see Jake get the win here, I think, and that is going to be a betting angle in this fight. But anyway, for Ben, his striking is about it's like bottom barrel for MMA, and I say that with respect because obviously, any MMA fighter has a lot of background in boxing or Muay Thai and all that stuff, and they've gone lots of rounds, lots of hard sparring, lots of, minutes in the octagon where they've had to use their hands or they've had to defend. So he's been in there with elite strikers. He's been hit by elite strikers. He knows how to be deep into a fight. It's just all things that Jake doesn't have. But from a pure boxing perspective, there's just really nothing there with Ben. Like, you can't even put together a highlight reel for him, really, because he's just a wet blanket, he's always trying to get to the grappling. And that's the thing here, guys. I think that, a lot of people will tell you if Ben's going to win this fight, it's going to be because he kind of takes Jake into deep water and has him tired. And the way he can do that is by, just clinch work. And that's very tiring. It's not something that Jake's going to be expecting, I don't think. I mean, he's going to be expecting it because it is the storyline for this fight. And if his coaches are worth anything, they're going to be expecting this. But it's just something where you can prepare for it all you want, but until you've been in there, it's just there's nothing to go off of. We're in uncharted territory here. So, yeah, for Ben, that's going to be his best path to victory, just kind of wearing Jake out, weathering what a lot of people seem to think that Jake is going to come out there guns blazing. I don't know. I haven't really seen anything to indicate that. I mean, that is, I guess, what you would expect. But I think, again, man, it just comes down to how serious about this is Jake Paul. And I think he's pretty serious. And, again, how far does that get you? Who knows? But when you're in there with guys who, I mean, he's had all kinds of sparring sessions here and there, with Jorge Masvidal, with, Canelo's training partners. And again, it's not like, you go out there and you play one-on-one with an NBA player. It's not going to do anything for you. But if you're just doing this for a couple years like Jake Paul has, just here and there, and then he's going back to his own gym and working with his guys, I think that, there is going to be improvement there. And that will be a big key to this one. What's going to happen in the early rounds? Is Jake Paul just going to try to just, empty the tank, get Ben out of there early? I think that would be ill-advised. and that would definitely be a way he could lose this fight. But it could happen. It could easily happen. This is Jake's first real fight against a real fighter. Let's be real. So anything could happen. And, obviously Ben with the flying knee from Jorge Masvidal, that's just a totally different. Like, it doesn't mean that Ben is just some bum who's just going to fold like a ton of bricks when you hit him. Like, that was perfectly timed. That was planned for, like, and it's a flying knee, man. Flying knees are scary. So, like, that is not, I think if people are coming into this thinking that, Ben Askren's the guy who just got demolished by the flying knee, Jake Paul is just going to knock his ass out. I don't think that's going to happen. But, that brings us to the betting, which is probably why you're here. So, guys, if you're going to bet on this fight, you probably like to gamble. Like, let's be real. This is not a fight that, I would recommend putting a ton of money on. But, I think there is going to be a lot of people betting on this fight because it's a fun fight. And the thing about combat sports is like we were talking earlier, Jake Paul is bringing this to a whole new audience. Betting on fights is one of the funnest things to bet on, and it's, you don't have to know a lot to get into combat sports. It's like one guy's going to go in there and fight the other guy. It's pretty easy to, pick up on what's going on. It's not like baseball where there's all kinds of rules, or soccer where you got to worry about this or that. It's very basic. So, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people are just going to be, just doing some casual wagers on this. But if we look at the line, the line is actually tightening up here, guys. I think it's getting more valuable because I'm just going to say it now. I am going to pick Jake Paul to win this fight. I just think that here's going to be the key, guys. I think that we've really got to see what the ref's going to do. What's the ref going to do about the clinching? Is he going to let Ben work, or is he going to break him up? And if you're looking for a betting angle in this fight, guys, these are like the little, intangibles, the little insights you got to look for that kind of aren't obvious. But we got to really believe that the industry wants Jake Paul to win here because like I was saying earlier, this is just clearly setting up for Jake Paul gets his W against a professional fighter. They get like the easiest possible striking matchup he could possibly get. And I'm not knocking on Ben. It's just like it is what it is, man. He's at a huge reach disadvantage. If he just takes his time and picks him apart, Ben won't even be able to be as effective in the clinch. And then I really do think we're just going to see the ref just kind of have like no mercy and just there's a lot on this fight. And I don't know who the ref is. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of like being rigged, but come on, man, this is boxing. This is Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Like, if there's ever going to be fuckery, it's going to be in this fight. So I do think at minus 150, Jake Paul, good value. We're here on Bovada, but I know other books have it. Some books don't. Barstool Sportsbook has it, I saw, but I don't know if DraftKings has it or Fox Sports. I don't know. But on Bovada, that's where I saw it on Barstool too. It's about minus 150. Jake was at minus 170 earlier. I think that's where I got him at because I just put him in a parlay. But yeah, I do think that's good, guys. Moneyline obviously covers you for a knockout or a decision. But then if we look at method of victory, so this is where I think the value could be in this fight. If you're just looking, for casual, if you're looking to spice up parlay, whatever. So Jake Paul by knockout at plus 115. I don't know about that, man. For that price, for a guy who's never fought a professional fighter, just a prize fighter in general, MMA or boxing, that's just such a steep price, man. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So Jake Paul could get the knockout, whatever. At that point, I would just go with the money line because it's not that much of a difference in value. I mean, it is if you're gonna bet it straight, but it's not that much of a difference in value, and you would just be covered. But Jake Paul by decision at plus 500, I think that's worth. You put $20 on it. You're sitting pretty there. And then you could hedge it with Ben Askren by decision, I think is the next most likely outcome. I don't think Ben has the hands to knock Jake out. If Jake does just, bite and empties the tank and gets taken into deep waters and drowned there, and he's just exhausted by round 6 or round 5, and he's just exhausted from Ben just wearing on him, then yeah, I guess Ben could just get the knockout because it's easy to knock a guy out who's just exhausted. But I mean, betting on Ben Askren to get a knockout, that's rough, man. So, yeah, guys, that's that. Again, there's no definitive reads here. This is not a fight I would recommend betting a lot on, but it should be fun. I'm curious. I am gonna lean with Jake Paul though. So, yeah, guys, hope you like this video. Good luck if you're gonna be betting on this fight, and be sure to subscribe. Take it easy.